following video contains spoilers for Behind Her Eyes. Viewer discretion is advised. Guys, so I recently watched this new limited series on Netflix called Behind Her Eyes, and boy, is it wild. Like, I was not prepared for that ending. The ending had me shook, dumbfounded, and perplexed. Like, that's how much this ending had a girl messed up. Like, I was in disbelief. You know, I'm still in disbelief, as a matter of fact, to what happened in that ending. So basically, for those who do not know, we learned that a character named Adele can astral project. And years earlier, before the current events of the show take place, we learned that Adele had her body switched with this guy named Rob, who was a heroin addict who Adele met while she was grieving her parents. So they both can astral project. So we learned that Rob and Adele switch bodies. And so once Rob goes into Adele's body, Rob murders Adele in his body, throws his old body down the well. And then, so also, he can marry Adele's fiance, whose name is David. And this plot twist gets even more insane is because we then meet this character in the show named Louise. She's one of the main characters throughout the show. Her and David have like a love affair. And basically Adele sets a bunch of stuff up so that in the end, Rob and Adele's body can switch place with Louise, because Louise learns how to astral project. And once Rob switches places with Louise, he kills Louise so he can marry David again. Y'all, but this ending left me so shocked that I went back in the show and looked for clues that hinted at the big reveal. So I'm going to share these revelations with you guys. Number one, the flashbacks. The flashbacks are a major clue that it was Rob all along in Adele's body and not Adele. The reason why this is a major clue is because we never see a flashback where Rob is not there. Rob is always in all of the flashbacks. There are never just a moment where Adele is by herself. Rob is always there. Therefore, we are looking at the events that happened 10 years ago from Rob's perspective, not Adele's. Number two, flashback Adele. If you watch the flashbacks, you'll notice that the real Adele is very nice. She's very warm. She's really kind and trustworthy. And that is very different from present day Adele, who is actually Rob, because present day Adele's kind of a little bit cold, reserved, and she's not as warm and bubbly and honest and trustworthy as the Adele from the past was. Number three, Rob's obsession with Adele and her life. Throughout the flashbacks, Rob keeps noting about how much he's obsessed with Adele, how much he loves her, and how much he loves her life. And he constantly mentions that he would love to switch places with her. He would love to live her life because his life is miserable. He even says that Adele is an escape from his life. At first, the show frames it that Rob was in love with Adele, but Rob mentions that he's gay. So he's not in love with Adele, he's just obsessed with her life because he hates his own and he wishes that he could switch places with her. And boy, does he do it all right. Number four, the astral projection orbs. In the flashbacks, we see Rob and Adele astral project together for the first time. And when you watch this scene, you will notice that Adele's orb is pink and Rob's orb is blue. This is a huge clue because when Adele, which is aka Rob, switches places with Louise, Adele's orb is blue and Louise's orb is green. But really, it's Rob. Number five, the clothes that Adele and Louise wear. This is a big clue because the clothes that they wear reference the color of their orbs. We often see Louise wearing green clothing, meanwhile Adele is wearing blue and sometimes has hints of pink in it. And these hint that Rob is now in Adele's body. Number six, when Adele went to go visit Louise's apartment. I didn't think much of this at first until the reveal, but when Adele first goes over to Louise's apartment, she does like a really meticulous walkthrough of the entire place to see where everything is and to get a feel for things. And I thought that, this is kind of weird, like why is she walking throughout the entire apartment? The reason why Adele was doing this is because Adele was doing it to set the intentions for astral projection, because it is mentioned in the show. Adele says you cannot astral project to somewhere you haven't been. You can only visit places that you've been before, and you have to visualize it. So Adele was walking throughout Louise's apartment so she could visualize what her apartment looked like so she could watch her. That was insane. Or excuse me, not Adele. That was Rob who was doing all this. Number 7, Adele's cooking. Throughout the show, we see Adele make these elaborate meals for David, and sometimes if Louise came over, like she'd make something for Louise. And this is a hint because in the flashbacks, it is revealed that Rob is this really extravagant chef. Like Rob was doing all this cooking. Meanwhile, Adele didn't cook anything because Adele mentioned that she always had servants doing stuff for her and whatnot. Like she never really did stuff like that. So that was a hint that it was Rob all along because of all the elaborate and fancy cooking. Number 8, Adele's heroin usage. Rob is a heroin addict in the flashbacks and had no intentions of stopping. When he swaps with Adele can be seen throughout the show using heroin and injecting it in between her toes. So really, that was Rob, injecting himself with heroin, not Adele. Number 9, conversations between Adele and Louise. There are a few conversations that Adele and Louise have throughout the show that are somewhat odd and a little sus. They're definitely suspect, for sure. And some of these conversations foreshadow that the body switch would happen between Louise and Adele. For example, after Adele teaches Louise how to astral project so Louise can stop having night terrors, Louise then tells Adele, thank you so much, you changed my life. And then Adele says, maybe one day you'll do the same for me, which is a big hint and indicator that the body switch is eventually going to happen. Another hint is whenever Adele talks about, her past with Louise. For example, Adele would tell Louise that she used to have night terrors all the time when she was a kid, when really this was Rob who had night terrors all the time when he was younger, because the real Adele never had night terrors. Number 10, the camera angles. So whenever David and Louise are in a scene together, the way the camera is positioned makes it seem like someone is watching them. And this was an indicator and a hint that astral projection was in play. And as a matter of fact, Adele was the one watching them the entire time. Number 11, David. Yes, David is a huge clue and indicator for the big reveal that is really Rob and not Adele. The reason why is constantly throughout the show, he keeps noting that he doesn't really recognize who his wife is anymore. Like Adele's almost a completely different person. Like he doesn't know who she is anymore. But the whole time, David was right, because that was not Adele and Adele. That was Rob and Adele the whole time, not the person he fell in love with. And finally, number 12, the bathtub scene. This one is a huge clue. The reason why the bathtub scene is a huge clue is because that is when the real Adele and Rob are having a conversation. And before this happens, Rob just finished, using his heroin needle. And then Adele walks in with this nice little wooden box. And Adele gives it to Rob to keep his stuff in there. And then once Adele hands Rob this box, Rob then says, it's something to remember you by. And Adele's confused because she's like, what do you mean? Why did you say that? What do you mean by this? Another hint in the bathtub scene was when Adele and Rob were talking about David, and Rob tells Adele, that he could understand why she was so in love with him and that he was perfect. Because the whole time, Rob had a little crush on David, and he knew that he did not want to go back to his life. So basically, in this scene, we got a lot of major hints about Rob's true intentions, that he was planning to switch spots with Adele. Y'all, so in conclusion, like, this show was wild. I really enjoyed it, and I was not expecting that plot twist at all. I was not expecting it. It does start off a little slow first, but I promise it's worth the watch, and it's only 6 episodes. Like, come on now. But honestly, after watching this show, I gotta say that Rob can give Joe from You a run for his money. Like, after all the stuff Rob did and planned, yeah, he can definitely give Joe from You a run for his money about how crazy people are. And shows like Behind Her Eyes and You are reasons why you cannot trust the overly nice guy or the nice guy, or just people who are too overly nice to you immediately. Like, there's always some ulterior motive or some intentions behind their actions. So y'all be careful so you don't get taken advantage of. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you like what I had to say, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification to stay notified for when I upload new videos. Also, make sure you follow me on my socials because I would love to hear from you all and talk to you all more about different topics and subjects. And if you guys have recommendations for me, you all know I'm always down to check out a good show or a good anime or a good anything, you know? If it has a good story, I'm in there like swimwear. Also, comment down below and let me know what your thoughts were about Behind Her Eyes. Did you guys think that plot twist was wild and insane? Because I am sure still dumbfounded and shocked by this. Also, were there clues in the show that you noticed that I might have missed? Please, please, please tell me, because I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. That is all for today's video, and I hope everybody has a fantastic and lovely day. Bye-bye.